everybody! So I am back. This is my coworker Caitlin. We work at the Emporium together. So we have a couple things. First of all, it is October 1st, and although we've been doing Halloween parties for 2 months now, we decided that it's going to be a spooky day. So we decided we should, in honor of Halloween, just share some ghost stories of the Magic Kingdom. Or well, we'll probably get into Disney World in general, but we figured since we're in Magic Kingdom, we'll ride the rides that are supposedly haunted, tell the story, and also it's October 1st. It's the birthday of Magic Kingdom and Disney World as a whole.
Yay!
Nothing exciting is really happening, but hey, we're celebrating deep down inside.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see what ride has the shortest wait and then start off there. So let's see where we head off to. So why not start with something kind of obvious? Slightly
Haunted
obvious.
Mansion.
Yes. Oh, jeez. I didn't expect it to turn around like that. We're not paying attention to where we're going in line as we do this.
Definitely not.
Anyways, so Haunted Mansion, not only known for having 999 happy haunts, supposedly have a couple real ones. And so I guess we could dive into like the reason behind it. No one really knows who haunts it, why it's haunted. Well, the only assumption as to why we think it's haunted is because cast members do say that they do have to shut down the ride a couple times, a month, a year. It's sporadic, obviously, but people do have to shut down the ride because people believe that they should be spreading their loved ones' ashes on the ride in order for them to find peace in the house. Yeah.
And you gotta vacuum them up and then just throw them away.
Yep.
It's
so basically,
sad.
whenever this happens, the ride shuts down and the remains are vacuumed up. So obviously, this could lead to a lot of unhappy spirits and unhappy feelings. I mean, it's kind of disrespectful for the family members to be dumping their loved ones in a place where they know it's going to be cleaned up. So there's a couple like reasons, or I should say specific stories on this ride that is like kind of the reason behind why it might be haunted. I know one of the personal stories, so this is crazy. This is a personal experience. So my roommate and I one day in my last program, what we did is like we'd have Magic Kingdom days and we'd strictly come to the park just to ride Haunted Mansion and walk through Memento Mori because what else do we do with our time? And we would read ghost stories on our phones about like why the park was haunted. And so we read a bunch about the Haunted Mansion, and then we were like, let's freak ourselves out, and we went on the Haunted Mansion. So obviously, like, we were already high-strung. We were already, like, over-dramatic about the entire experience. The ride broke down once, and I think my roommate, like, screamed. So basically what happened was I didn't read the story on the phone. I went onto the ride, and when we were waiting in the queue line to get onto our doom buggies, I thought I saw a man come in from the handicap entrance on the ride with a cane. And so I didn't think anything of it. I was like, all right. So he just entered in through the wheelchair entrance, got on the ride, and he was already on it.
Just a normal guy.
Exactly. And so once we got closer, I like looked again, and I noticed that he wasn't in the seat anymore. And I was like, okay, like probably trick of the eye. I'm making stuff up. Like we just read all these stories. Like, come on, I'm obviously just overthinking something. And so then a couple months later, this was literally just like right before this program started, I was looking through haunted stories again, and it popped up, and it was like man with cane that haunts the Haunted Mansion. And it says at night you can see him in the queue line riding on the doom buggies because he just likes riding the ride. No one really knows how he got there, what the backstory is, but people do claim to see him, including cast members. And I was like, oh. It freaked me out. I was like, that's so cool and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
There's also like a very well-known kind of like creepypasta Reddit about a man who took a picture, and in the picture he was supposedly alone on the ride, and a few carts in front of him there's the face of a little ghost boy looking back at him. There's nothing that really like supports this. There's nothing more about it. People can't tell if it's real or it's fake.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture's definitely creepy, but I don't know, it seems a little too perfect.
Yeah, it's too like he set it up in a way where like I didn't have a camera that could take this. Like there was no flash, there was no light.
Yet the kid was perfectly outlined, and so was the doom buggy,
like,
and it's
glowing.
pitch black in there.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it was photoshopped, but it is still kind of like all the doom buggies were empty in front of him. So like I don't know, he set it up.
It seemed
really
a little
nice.
too perfect. Yeah. And then I know, so on my last program, I did a backstage tour of the Haunted Mansion. I talked about it a little bit in a blog post back then, but one thing that we did learn was that our tour guide said that throughout the day, like if there's no one around, sometimes like the cast members will feel tugs on their skirts or on their sleeves, and like they'll think, oh, someone's here to ask me a question, and they'll turn and there'll be no one there. And like some things get misplaced, like at the end of the night when they have to do walkthroughs of the ride, like they just get eerie feelings. They feel like someone's following them. They'll hear things that are out of place or sounds that don't belong in the ride.
Yeah.
And overall, I would definitely say that there's clearly something deeper going on in the Haunted Mansion. There's definitely more than 999 happy haunts. And I really think it all just goes back to this idea that people do try to dump their loved ones' ashes in the ride, which is insane to me, but people do it. Please don't. Please stop. But you know, it still happens. They're going to vacuum it up. They'll be in a vacuum for the rest of their life. So please don't. But so quick side note while we're walking to our next ride. We're in Frontierland right now, if you can't tell by this overwhelming music. But so, I lost my ears. They were hurting my head too much. So I used to work here my last program before I mainly stuck at Dole Whip, but at the beginning I worked back and forth between food and beverage in Frontierland and Adventureland. And so in Frontierland at night when I would be closing up, Frontierland's almost like kind of like the first section of the park, I guess you could say, that clears out. There's not that much going on here besides Splash Mountain and Thunder Mountain, so once the lines close down, this whole part of the park is like empty. And so at night I would always find it like so strange because like staring at an empty park at night with just a few lights on and the music, it's so eerie. I mean, it's definitely a cool experience, but at the same time, it's spooky in a way that you can't even describe.
It's spooky on Main Street, and it's
That's
like
true,
super
too.
well lit. So like I can't even imagine what it's
Yeah,
like
this
back
one
here.
is definitely not as well lit here, especially like Tom Sawyer's Island's like pitch black and everything. So one night, what we have to do is usually 2 cast members are sent to like walk the bank back. This was before, now they have a different system of doing things. Anyway, so I was getting ready to leave my shop. We were almost closed, and I thought I saw this man like fully decked out as a cowboy like walk around the corner, and I was like, no one is that dressed up as a cowboy in Frontierland. Like we definitely have like the Western vibe, but nothing like as severe.
Yeah,
like I'm talking about
characters.
yeah,
like,
he had like the
cowboy.
pants, the shirt, like everything. So I was like, that's weird. So I go and I walk around the corner, and he's not there anymore. So I was like, okay, maybe he just like went backstage or something. And so then when we were doing our research for this online, supposedly in Frontierland in Disney World there is the haunted cowboy. I don't know what to say. There's supposedly a cowboy that walks around here that people have seen with gray hair. I don't remember what color hair I saw it, but he was dressed full-blown cowboy, and people say that he'll turn a corner, and when they try to go follow him to see who he is and why he's so dressed up, he disappears. So I thought I'd share that little snippet of information because I thought it was so strange. And now that like I read these things after the fact, I'm like,
It's like,
what?
oh, validity.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
maybe I'm not going completely insane.
A lot of people too say that they've seen different ones. Like they'll be dressed in different things. Like one of them has a white cowboy hat that they've seen. The other one is like more of a red-brown. And near like the shooting area, what is that?
Yeah, the shooting range.
Yeah,
I think.
they'll see him over there. They'll see him coming up and down stairs.
And that was like where the area he was, where I saw him like turn the corner. It was right like around that shooting range zone.
So apparently there's a couple different ones, and they're kind of seen all over.
But just the fact that like other people say that they've seen it too,
it's
it
like
just blows my
written
mind.
online, and you saw it and didn't know
anything about it. And then after the fact, I'm always like, wow. That's why I said that before the Haunted Mansion story too, because obviously if I just read it and I went on the ride, I would be like, okay, I'm psyching myself out. But I did not read that story. I didn't even read it until like a month ago, and this happened like last year. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's insane how much stuff goes on here. Obviously, Disneyland is definitely a lot more haunted.
Yeah, it was hard finding stories for Disney World specifically.
Just because
it's so much newer.
An extra like 20 so years really does cause a lot of things. And also like the infrastructure, like building it was so different with even that much, like little of an age gap, you know? So
like safety rules and all that. Like I'm sure a lot more people probably perished while building Disneyland and Disney World. Because people just see cast members that are there one second and gone the next, just walking around. Here
and it also could just be people who loved their job so much and loved their time at Disney that when they did pass away, that's just where they chose to stay.
Yeah. I mean, heck, why not? Like,
yeah, right? Stay, live in the happiest place on earth forever. I'd be down. All right, we're almost at our next ride. So, if you can hear the pirate music behind us, we're in Adventureland in the Pirates area. And this is probably one of the most well-known haunted ghost stories in Disney World in general. And that would be the ghost story of George. So as the story goes, Pirates of the Caribbean right here is haunted by a worker by the name of George. And apparently there's no evidence that this actually happened. It's probably more of a legend, but some sources behind it still seem very odd and out of the ordinary. Hey. Seeing people I know. Anyways, so George was supposedly a construction worker who worked on the ride as it was opening. And in the burning room, which I'll definitely film to show you guys, there is rumors that he either fell from scaffolding or scaffolding fell on him and he died in the burning room scene. And now he supposedly haunts there. And if a cast member does not say good night to George every night, the ride is known to break down multiple times the next day or experience various difficulties. They also say that he is known to open doors or set off alarms that a door in the ride has been opened, which it thus shuts down the ride when they go to check. The door is closed, lights turn on and off by themselves, all different kinds of little antics. Again, like pulling on the costumes, pulling on the sleeves, whoever's there at night and has to go through the last run through the ride oftentimes is not a fan and asks someone to come with them. But if you want to, feel free to say hello to George. I've heard also other stories of people who say that they don't believe in George and the ride will glitch.
Yeah, it'll break down or like the animatronics will break.
So he knows, guys. Don't hate on George. He will come after it.
Mess up the ride for you.
Yes. Yeah, so now grab some lunch, and then we gotta kind of like figure out our game plan because there's not that many other haunted places in the Magic Kingdom. There definitely is outside, so I don't know if we should do this as like a multiple series type thing or just go all at it at once and share the story. So we'll figure it out as time goes on. Time for some chicken nuggets.